Right, good morning everyone. For today's, I just welcome everybody to today's Regulation Hearing Committee meeting. We've got quite a few items in the agenda. So I'm going to make a start with the Karakia. Whakatakataho ki te ulu, whakatakataho ki te tonga, ki mā kina kina ki uta, ki mā taratara ki tai. Ihi ake ana, te atakura, hei tū, hei huka, hei hohu, te hei maliora. So as I said, welcome to this meeting. We have a quorum present. So the meeting is actually open. Now, I've received apologies for lateness from Chair Pauling and have not heard from Councillor Swiggs at this stage. So that takes us on to agenda item 3. That's the conflicts of interest. Now, there are a number of decision papers there. So does anybody have any conflicts of interest? Councillor East.
Look, I potentially have a conflict with item 8.1. I've researched the directors of Devondale Nurseries, but my cousin owned land in that Devondale property, so I can't absolutely say I've got a conflict, but I'm going to step aside from it just in case.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Councillor Swiggs. Does anybody else have any conflicts they just wish to raise for today's agenda items? If there isn't, we'll move on to agenda item 4. That's the public forums, deputations and petitions. There have been no requests for public forum, deputation or petition. Agenda item 5, that's the extraordinary and urgent business. Is there any extraordinary and urgent business to bring to the table? If there isn't, we'll then move on to the notices of motion, item 6. I've received none, so none coming forward. No. That moves us on to agenda item 7. That's the minutes of our last meeting, 7.1. So the meeting was on the 9th of April. Is there any matters of accuracy with regard to those minutes? If there isn't, we have the recommendation up here. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor Edge. Okay, we have the mover and the seconder on screen. No, we don't have a discussion around those. So all those in favour say aye. Against. So they're carried. Thank you. So that moves us on to the report items for decision today. And I just will acknowledge that at the table we've got Alison Cooper, who's our consents coordinator, and John Boriston, who's our acting consents manager. And also in the room we have got our general counsel, Robin Fitchett, and our general manager of consents and compliance, Paul Holst. So we're looking at 8.1, so that's page 18 of your agenda there. We have a suite of consents applied for by Devondale Nursery. We're looking at a recommendation from staff that we appoint Michael Durand as the hearing commissioner and delegate him the relevant powers. There is a background in the paper that you'll all have read and acknowledge there around what the applicant's seeking consents for. This was a limited notified because of some affected persons. 5 submissions were received and 2 to be heard. The background for Mr. Durand is outlined in 14, 15 and 16. So that's good. So we've got a recommendation here. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Swiggs. Thank you. Just going to move that. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Edge. Okay. Any discussion to be had before we move that? If there isn't, all those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Okay. So that takes us on to agenda item 8.2. We're looking to appoint a hearing commissioner for an application from RMP McIntosh. That's to hear one consent application there. We're looking, staff recommendation is to appoint Cindy Robertson as the hearing commissioner for this application and delegate the responsibilities that she requires under the Resource Management Act. So backgrounds on the paper. This was publicly notified. One submission was received, and at this stage we're not sure whether this has to have a hearing or be decided on papers, as I understand it. So we've used Cindy Robinson recently again, so the information is outlined in 13 and 14. Is there any matters of clarification from staff? That's great. There is no questions of staff on that one. So we have the recommendation. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that one? Councillor Edge is going to move it. Seconder? Councillor Robinson, thank you. Any discussion do we have before we vote on that one? Okay, if there isn't, all those in favour say aye. Against? So it's carried. It takes us to 8.3. This is appointment of a hearing commissioner for Protranz International Limited. Now some of you will recognise this one from recently, 12th of March, I think. We've got two parts of this. So the first part is to revoke a previous hearing commissioner that we've put onto this initial committee, and then to replace him with a second commissioner. So we're looking to revoke the appointment of Greg Ryder and appoint in his place Craig Welsh as a hearing commissioner. Staff have outlined the reasoning there, and that's in points 5 and 6, and then outlined the information around with regard to Mr. Welsh in 12 and 13. So does everybody understands what's happening there, and does anybody have any questions of clarification? No, excellent papers here. Thank you. So can we have a mover and a seconder for this one? Councillor East, Councillor Swiggs. Is there any discussion to be had? It's pretty straightforward, I think. Okay, all in favour, say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. So moving right along, that takes us to 8.4. That's page 27 of your agenda papers. We're looking to appoint a hearing commissioner to hear and decide two consents for Fereday Island Limited as the applicants here. Backgrounds in the paper in 2 and 3, points 2 and 3. This was publicly notified and no submissions were received. Once again, this is possibly going to be decided on papers if the applicant doesn't want to be heard. We're looking at the staff recommendation is to appoint Antoinette Bezier as the hearing commissioner and delegate her the responsibilities under the RMA to do her functions, powers and duties to deal with any matters here and decide the application. Her background's actually outlined in 13, 14 and 15 as well. Question of clarity?
No, thank you for this. I just thought the original consents on this, because parts of it are replacement consents, I'm wondering if the original, because it was highlighted that iwi wasn't consulted in the first time round, and that was highlighted. I'm just making sure that iwi was part of this particular consultation before it went out to the public. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, the iwi and the runanga of Ngāi Tahu are notified of the applications.
Okay, there's no further points, questions of clarification here. Do we have a mover and a seconder for this recommendation from staff? Councillor East is going to move it. We have a seconder. Councillor Swiggs, thank you. Okay, does anybody have anything that they want to raise in discussion before we vote on this? Okay, thank you. We'll note that. All those in favour say aye. Against? So that's carried. Yes. Yep. Right, that takes us to 8.5. That's page 30 of your agenda paper. This is appointment of a hearing commissioner for Ecogas Limited Partnership. So we're looking to appoint a hearing commissioner. Once again, Cindy Robinson is to hear and decide this consent application. Background's written out in 2.3, 2, 3 and 4 of your paper. This was a limited notification and to 14 parties and 10 were received. There's a number of them wish to be heard. The staff recommendation, they've noted in point 11 that the staff recommend that we appoint 2 hearing commissioners to be appointed to cover the range of issues that have been raised and to share the workload in the hearing there. So it's in point 11. I think that's quite important. Backgrounds of the individuals recommended are in 16, 17, 18 and 19. Is there any points of clarity around this consent application and the decision that we're looking to make? Okay. Okay, Councillor Robinson's going to move. Okay. No discussion to be had, is there? Councillor Swiggs, do you have a...
Yeah, I'm just going to... I had no question, but I will vote against the recommendation. I have some concerns regarding some previous decisions, and so I won't support this one.
Okay, so all those in favour say aye.
I'd like to abstain from this and note this, please.
And we've got a no, 1 no and 1 abstention. So we've got it carried. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for those. That's the decision items completed. That takes us on to the report items for information. 9.1, it's the Regulation Hearing Committee Resolution Status Report. That's on your pages 35, 36 and 37. They're all green. Does anybody have any questions of clarity around there? I think they're quite straightforward. If there isn't, do I have somebody that would move and seconder that resolution? Thank you, Councillor Swiggs. Councillor Robinson's going to second that. Okay, I'm assuming there's no need for any discussion on that resolution. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Against? So that is carried. It then takes us on to 9.2, which is the resource consent hearing status report for 30th of April. That's page 38 of your agenda. Or from 38 of the agenda. So there's several pages, 3 pages there of still a lot of activity going on, quite a bit occurring. Does anybody have any... Sorry? Oh, councillor. Oh, sorry, I was not looking at you, councillor Rees. Where you go?
Look, just a few queries on some of these hearings. I note at least 3 of them have a notation decision to be made on the papers, and the meeting date we approved it goes back some time, 6th of November for one of them, and I'm just wondering, when we have a decision to be made on the papers, how long should that take? I just have an element of concern that one of them goes back to November, and we've got a couple of recent ones. So just some advice on the expectation for those to be actually taken off our books.
The ones that the first one, which was a November one, the hearing was set and the exchange of evidence had gone through the process, and then just before the hearing, the submitter advised that they were not going to attend. So the hearing date had been set, so the 15 days for the commissioner to make the decision. So it was set for it to be heard and before a proper hearing, but now that he determined that the hearing and the applicant agreed that they didn't need to be heard, so the decision was made that he would make the decision on the papers. So he has 15 working days. Unfortunately, this commissioner landed in hospital during Easter, so he is a small delay, but his decision is should be due later this week or early next week. And the other ones...
Some of the others are a little more recent, but it's just the same sort of principle. I think the second thing that I just seek a little bit of clarity on, where an application is set for a hearing and then the submitters withdraw, and in another instance, I think submitters are withdrawn, so that's one of them, and then the other one was where a hearing is no longer required. A hearing set, and then we get a comment, the applicant to confirm if they wish to be heard. Now, I would have thought, if the submitters withdraw, why do we go through the bother of actually asking the submitters to be heard when the decision's going to be made on the paper, more or less?
There's two parts to that. So submitters can indicate, and what determines a hearing to be held is the submitters to be heard. And so sometimes the applicant will go and talk. So once the notification period's closed, and during that whole time, some submitters will wait until they see what's written in the reporting officer's report, 42A report, and then often after that they'll wait to see what comes out with the applicant's evidence. And then they may decide that, and depending on the applicant, they may go and be talking with the submitters. And so sometimes they can take a little bit of time for the submitter to actually agree and send the paperwork in to say that they no longer wish to be heard, or they withdraw their submission in total, which can indicate if that is the last of the submitters to be heard or there are no more submitters to be heard, whether the applicant then still wants to go to a hearing to actually present their evidence, or else they will think that they have presented everything they have had and the decision could be made on the papers without appearing at a formal hearing.
So is that a statutory right for an applicant to actually be heard, even if the submitters have withdrawn?
If we've got a hearing commissioner in place, it would be up to the hearing commissioner to decide if they need to, if they think they've got all the information in front of them and haven't got any questions that they would need to ask the submitter, the applicant or the hearing reporting officer, then they could decide that they've got all the information in front of them and they could just decide from what they've got without having to ask and come before a formal hearing.
Just one point, Alison. I guess that the applicant under natural justice would have a point to argue their case as well. Would that be correct? Yeah.
Correct. And so where we said that if there are no submitters to be heard, the reporting officer may be recommending decline, in which case we would go to, and there's no submitters to be heard, we would go to the applicant and say, your opportunity to present your case and your best, put your evidence before the commissioner is before a hearing and a hearing process.
Thank you. One from Councillor Robinson.
No, thanks for the explanation. Natural justice and all that. But I'm just wondering about 7.3. I noticed that a response or a decision is due today. I'm just wondering if, since this agenda was put together, if there has been a decision on that?
It has only just come in and it's due for release today, tomorrow.
Okay, so watch that space. Right, if there are no further questions here, we have a recommendation up here on the board. Do we have a mover and a seconder for them? Councillor Robinson and Councillor East. Any further discussion, or we'll just vote on that? There is no further discussion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Thank you. And we'll leave the Karakia open for the day, so we'll close that later on. So I just thank everybody for participating, and thank you, staff, for your help and being